Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the unsung hero of the entire data world, data ingestion. It's that critical first step that nobody really talks about, but it's what turns all that raw data into actual powerful insights. So let's get into it. I mean, think about it. We're surrounded by data. It's everywhere. We hear all this buzz about AI and big data and all the magic they can do. But none of that magic just happens. It all starts with a really basic question. How do you get all that data from the countless places it's created into one spot where you can actually make sense of it? Okay, to really get this, I want you to think about it like this. Imagine data is just a bunch of raw ingredients. Vegetables, spices, flour, everything you need for an amazing meal. Well, data ingestion, that's the entire supply chain. It's the process of getting all those ingredients delivered to your kitchen ready to be cooked. So what's the more official definition? Well, data ingestion is just the process of getting all those ingredients, data from databases, from app logs, from APIs, you name it, into one central kitchen, like a data warehouse or a data lake. This is the absolute foundational step that makes sure our data is reliable, efficient, and ready to be turned into something truly useful. So, if we're getting all these ingredients to our data kitchen, it turns out there are pretty much two main ways to do it. Let's take a look at the two big approaches, batch and streaming. Let's go right back to our kitchen analogy. You could do a big weekly grocery run, right? Get everything you need for the whole week all at once. That's basically batch ingestion. Or you could use one of those instant delivery services that brings you each ingredient the exact moment you realize you need it. And that, my friends, is streaming. Right? So this weekly grocery run idea? That's what we call batch ingestion. It's really the classic workhorse of the data world. It's perfect for things where you don't need up-to-the-second information, like, say, generating your daily sales reports. You just collect all the data from the entire day and then process it in one big, scheduled chunk, usually overnight. Now, even with our weekly grocery run, we've got options. We could do a full dump, which is kind of like throwing out everything in your fridge every week and just replacing it all with a new delivery. It's simple for sure, but it can be really inefficient. The better way is an incremental load, where you just add the new items you bought. Way more efficient, but it does mean you have to keep track of what's new and what's not. And then, on the flip side, you've got streaming ingestion, our instant delivery service. With this, data flows in constantly, and it's processed the very moment it's created. And this isn't just a nice to have. For some things, it's absolutely essential. Think about real-time fraud detection or live website analytics. Any delay there means you've completely missed your chance to act. But what happens when you need both? What if you need the deep, comprehensive accuracy of that big weekly grocery run, but you also need the immediate speed of instant delivery? Well, that's where we start getting into the really professional-grade kitchen setups. And that brings us to something called the Lambda architecture. Now, this is a pretty clever approach that basically says, why choose? Let's just do both. It runs two different data pipelines in parallel. You get a batch layer, which is slow, but it's super comprehensive and accurate for the big picture, and you combine that with a lightning-fast speed layer that gives you an immediate view of what's happening right now. Okay, let's really put this to the test. Let's imagine a really tough real-world challenge. We need to detect a sophisticated fraud attempt, and we need to do it as it's happening. We have to be both fast and smart. And this is where you can really see the problem with that Lambda approach. See, the speed layer is incredibly fast, but it's also totally forgetful. It sees each transaction in complete isolation with no memory or context of the customer's history. Meanwhile, the batch layer is like the all-knowing historian, but it's painfully slow. It only gets an updated view of the world every few hours. So what's the result? Well, by the time this super accurate batch layer finally pieced everything together and identifies the fraudulent pattern, it's hours later. The money's gone. The whole system failed because the fast part wasn't smart enough and the smart part just wasn't fast enough. And that exact problem is why a newer approach, the Kappa architecture, is getting so much attention these days. It basically says, you know what? Let's just get rid of that slow, separate kitchen altogether. Instead, it uses a single, unified streaming pipeline for everything. And the secret ingredient here is that the pipeline is stateful, which means it's fast, but it also has a memory. It can remember a customer's history and see those patterns in real time. It's one kitchen that's both fast and smart. Okay, so no matter how fancy your kitchen setup is, whether it's batch, Lambda, or Kappa, disasters can still happen. Let's talk about a couple of the most common and, frankly, inevitable problems you're going to run into with data ingestion. So first up, we have schema drift, and trust me, this one is a classic. Just imagine your ingredient supplier suddenly decides to change the recipe on you, but they forget to tell you. You're expecting all your ingredients to be measured in grams, but now they start arriving in kilograms. Your entire cooking process is about to completely break. And check this out. This is a perfect real-world example of that disaster. On the left, our system is expecting an apple's weight to come in as grams. But then, after some quiet update on the source system, the data starts arriving in kilograms, and they've added a new unit field. Our pipeline, which doesn't know about the change, just ignores that new field and reads the number 0.150. It tragically assumes that's still grams, and the result is a total catastrophe. The inventory system ends up ordering 1,000 times more apples than it actually needs. All right, another classic kitchen nightmare: late arriving data. Your recipe calls for a very specific, important spice, but the delivery truck gets stuck in traffic. It arrives after you've already finished cooking the meal. The entire dish is now compromised. Here's exactly how this plays out in the business world. At 1 a.m., an automated job kicks off. Step 1, getting all the sales data. That works just fine. But look at step 2. The job to fetch the latest currency exchange rates fails. And the critical error here is that the process doesn't stop. It just plows ahead and creates all the invoices using yesterday's old, outdated rate file. And the result? Every single international customer gets a bill with the wrong amount. So after all these details, all these analogies, why does this matter so much? Well, it's because a solid, well-thought-out data ingestion strategy is the absolute foundation of everything else you want to do with your data. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways from our data kitchen today. First, data ingestion isn't just a detail. It is the critical foundation for everything that comes after. Second, that choice between batch, our weekly grocery run, and streaming, our instant delivery, it really just boils down to your need for speed. Third, while those advanced setups like Lambda and Kappa are super powerful, they definitely come with their own complexities. And maybe most importantly, you have to plan for those kitchen disasters from the start if you want to build a system that can actually survive in the real world. And I'll leave you with one final thought to chew on. As the world just keeps demanding faster, more intelligent, more contextual decisions, are we seeing the end of the scheduled grocery run? Is every single business, whether they realize it yet or not, on a path to becoming a real-time, stateful, Kappa-style kitchen? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.